Good evening, I'm Assad Ahmed. On the eve of another weekend of what's expected to be large-scale protests in London over the Israel-Gaza conflict, an appeal for people here to remain united has been made, while young people have been taking part in workshops to learn how to identify and challenge hate crime. Politicians and police have also started to make plans for any demonstrations next weekend, which would coincide with Armistice Day. Our correspondent Carl Mercer has this report.
So that kind of touches on the actual word anti-Semitism, right?
A timely lesson for these young people, as Islamophobia and anti-Semitic attacks have spiked in recent weeks.
And it was changing from hating Jewish people because of their religious practices.
They're on something called the Future Leaders Programme, gathered today for a conference in central London, aware that the war in the Middle East is also having an effect in their own communities.
I try to not take a middle stance, but you have to look at both sides. And what Future Leaders does is it helps you know that you need to validate your sources, you need to know where your news is coming from.
Teachers and the schools have been more trying to encourage students to talk about these things in character curriculums and these form sessions that we have in school.
I studied conflict in the Middle East as a GCSE, and it's been going on for so much years. And as a generation, as a younger generation, we still have a responsibility to go out, to use our social media platforms and to reach out and help whatever we can do.
I need to actively search for these the people that are being affected by it, and not to hear things from a third party, and more to search for the people who have experienced these stuff.
We are coming together and we are trying to kind of unify under the fact that we are British, we are living in the same area, and we are in London, which is a very multicultural place.
Can I introduce Mayor of London Sadiq Khan?
Hey, morning, good to see you. You okay? Very well behaved, very quiet.
Good morning.
Mayor joined them today. He's been told by police that they've arrested 130 people for hate crime offences since October the 7th.
Of course, passions are running high. Many of us are heartbroken and traumatised by what we've seen in Israel and Palestine, in Gaza. Be conscious about the impact of your action, because, at the end of the day, once the disturbances are over, we're going to have to carry on being neighbours and friends and colleagues, just like we were before these disturbances began.
The government has today written to the Mayor and London's police seeking assurances about how it will deal with the planned march on Remembrance Weekend, a question the Met's Commissioner answered at the London Assembly yesterday.
Remembrance Weekend and the events in sort of Whitehall and Westminster Abbey, etc., are of national significance, and so we will ensure that if there is a march that weekend, it will not collide with or interfere with that. They are events being watched closely by all, including the next generation of Londoners. Carl Mercer, BBC London.
It's Friday the 3rd of November. Look at